We're here asking our legislators and the governor for a comprehensive, sustainable transportation funding package that will put Minnesota back on the path to being one of the most competitive states in the country.
We recognize that the transportation system is broken in many ways. The roads and bridges crumbling, a lot of poor pavement around the state, transit, we have great plans on the books. We haven't been able to build out a system comparable to peers around the country. Bus system hasn't grown in a decade or more in the metro. So we really think expanded transit options while also fixing our roads and bridges. And finally, including investment in bike and pedestrian and people with disabilities, facilities statewide so that those options are safe.
We've heard from lots of people all over the state about how fed up they are with the transportation system and how important this is. We have over 10,000 postcards from people who have said it's time for the legislature to take action in the 2015 session, and we will be delivering those postcards to the legislators from their constituents. And we're going to be really excited to march from the Armory over to the State Office building to make that delivery.
1/3 of all Minnesotans do not own a car. They're either under 16, choose not to drive, or don't have the ability to drive. And so when we look at that, we want to make sure that there are multiple options for that 1/3 of Minnesotans who don't own a car.
My wife has told me time and time again about the importance of rural transit to her chiropractic office. There are all sorts of retired people, retired farmers, and we live in a rural area, who come to her office by rural transit. And without the rural transit, she doesn't know how they would get there.
We want to make sure that transportation options are the most healthy and available to all Minnesotans. Over and over again, we're hearing that one of the key barriers to accessing healthy foods is certainly price, affordability, but it's transportation. Getting to and from a healthy food outlet. And so transportation is so much more than just a mode to travel on, but it's actually an access point for healthy options in terms of healthy eating, physical activity, having a livelihood, getting an education, getting health care.
If you're a bus rider and you can't get to 85% of the jobs in the Twin Cities, and other cities have much better access, it becomes urgent. If you're a biker, and many more people are biking every year, and the fatality rate, it becomes very urgent to make those investments. On the roadside, we know that drivers often are paying $200 to $300 a year in repairs, front end alignment or a tire due to bad crumbling roads. So because we haven't addressed the system in close to a decade, we have system-wide needs. And I think everyone's kind of rallied together because we know that we need a statewide solution, and we know that we need to address all modes.
The backlog of damaged roads in this state, and particularly outstate, is just unacceptable. And that translates into delays in commerce, that translates into unsafe conditions and needless deaths that occur across this state that are really, really sad. Where better engineering, better signage, better curvature and grading, new surfaces would really help drive down highway fatalities and serious injuries.
There's a lot of talk at the Capitol this year about the divide between greater Minnesota and the metro area. Transportation funding touches every county and every community in the state of Minnesota. It creates jobs not only for construction workers, everyone knows about that, but in thousands of engineering firms. There are the people who produce the gravel, there are people who produce the asphalt, there are people who rent the equipment. All of those are jobs, and they occur all over greater Minnesota. I live in greater Minnesota, Plainview, Minnesota, in Wabasha County, and when those roads deteriorate, nobody wants to come to Plainview. Businesses can't locate there. I've seen it all kinds of places around Minnesota where when we build infrastructure, when we build that on-ramp and off-ramp, new businesses locate there, because it's all about being able to not only produce a product in Minnesota, but move it to market. And if you can't get it out of Minnesota, there's not going to be any jobs created.
So we are urging the legislature to invest more in improving the safety and effectiveness of the transportation system with a plan that would be balanced dedicated to transportation and comprehensive. And every year of delay just adds more cost to those projects, so taxpayers wind up paying a lot more in the long run.
We're very convinced that to address that size of a problem is going to take both a long-term funding solution and a dedicated funding solution.
We can't just do well, we'll fix it today and see what happens tomorrow. It's got to be something long-term, because if it's not for us, it's for the future. And whether it's our children or grandchildren, we need to make our transportation system as viable and as safe as possible for everybody.